Not surprised, huh? It's almost like you knew Scarlett was going to get pregnant. You know something about it, don't you, Dad? Lucas' words made Oliver chuckle through his nose, sounding triumphant, and started speaking without any remorse. You know, it's really Lucas's fault for talking about leaving home and not giving money. Scarlett was always nice to me. I bet she liked me more than Lucas. Oliver's nonchalant and disjointed talk seemed to push Lucas to the brink of rage. That's because you left Scarlett alone when you go on business trips, Lucas. She gets lonely. I had no choice but to keep her company. And guess what? I'm the dad of the baby she's pregnant with. Sorry, but it was Scarlett who came on to me. Let's raise this baby together. I felt like I was going to faint at Oliver's atrocious statement. Lucas exclaimed. What? Don't mess with me. He was about to smash his mobile phone, so I did everything to stop him. But what followed was sheer hell. How long do you plan to act like a child? Do you want children? Who's going to raise them? Stop wanting kids just because of your desires. Children are lives. Not your toys. I'll protect my dear son Lucas and his family, Scarlett. What do you have to protect? Perhaps only your tiny pride. If you have time to protect that, would you kindly go to hell? I will never forgive you. My name is Grace, a 43-year-old working mother. I gave birth to my son Lucas when I was 20. I married my current husband, Oliver, 6 years ago when Lucas was 17. Lucas's father was a college friend, a smart person who loved research. We planned to marry when he graduated and got a job. But he tragically died in an accident abroad on a research trip. I gave birth alone, raising Lucas with help from my parents. That's when I met Oliver. He was a regular at the cafe where I worked, coming in daily. I remember being struck by how childlike he seemed, always ordering ginger ale. Seeing him every day, I started to become interested in Oliver. Despite his handsome face, Oliver was talkative whenever he opened his mouth, always cracking jokes and making me laugh every time he came to my seat. He usually visited with a few friends, but sometimes he waited for me alone outside until my shift ended. Grace, good job today. How about dinner together? He asked, and we went on a few dates. With Lucas, now a high school student, often coming home late, I started to enjoy a little time for myself. Gradually, I began to consider marrying Oliver. After losing Lucas's father while unmarried, I thought marriage was no longer an option for me. But as I was struggling to taking care of Lucas, Oliver appeared like an oasis, making me, an older woman, feel valued. I began to envision a future with him. Most importantly, Lucas took to Oliver well. Oliver, then in his 20s, might have seemed like an older brother to Lucas. But Oliver took good care of Lucas, often taking him out to play. So, when Oliver proposed, though I was hesitant, I decided to marry him, wanting to give Lucas a dad. Lucas, intelligent and kind like his father, soon started calling him Dad instead of Oliver. Oliver was delighted. Now that I'm part of the family, I'll work even harder, he said. 6 years passed since I married Oliver. Lucas graduated from college and started working. I left the cafe where I worked and have been working full-time since Lucas started university. Today, too, I was in a rush to get ready for a morning meeting. While I was drinking coffee as a breakfast substitute in the kitchen, Oliver woke up. Good morning. Want something to eat? I asked Oliver, who had sat down on the sofa, but he just shook his head. Apparently not hungry. Probably a hangover from drinking late into the night. After finishing my coffee, I grabbed my bag and was about to leave the house. When Oliver, sounding sleepy, spoke up. I'm going out this evening. Give me some money. I sighed, thinking not again. If I don't give him money now, he'll come to my office to get it. Reluctantly, I left some money on the table. Then, thanks, Oliver said, taking the money and returning to the bedroom. I watched his back and left the house. Oliver quit his job as soon as I secured full-time employment. I got a job because Lucas was starting university, and we needed money. But Oliver quitting made no sense. I urged him to find a job again. "Why do I need to work when Grace is?" he'd say. Where had his initial enthusiasm gone? Despite my dismay, I had planned to send Lucas to university even as a single mother, so I just worked hard, thinking of it as supporting one more child. I hoped Oliver would eventually find a job too. But Oliver, who had led a flashy lifestyle even before our marriage, was just collecting money from me and heading out to the nightlife. I didn't want to worry Lucas, who was working hard at his studies, so for a while, I kept it a secret that Oliver wasn't working. However, Lucas, being smart and perceptive, quickly figured it out. Even so, Lucas never blamed Oliver, and would secretly give him pocket money from his part-time job earnings. This went on for several years. Oliver showed no signs of starting a job and, like this morning, just came to collect money. He said he was going out this evening, probably to drink again. Oliver, who had many friends, couldn't say no when invited out. He dressed in high-brand clothes and adorned himself with luxury accessories. That hadn't changed, before and after our marriage. When I returned home from work that day, unusually, Oliver was in the living room. He was sitting on the sofa, drinking alone. "Huh? Weren't you going out?" I asked. "I was going to have drinks with a friend, but he suddenly had an emergency. Something about his kid getting a fever. I could have invited someone else, but got turned off hearing about kids, so I decided not to go," he replied, chugging his drink in a sulky manner. It could be that the person he was supposed to meet today was a woman. With this suspicion, I simply said, "That's too bad," and headed to the kitchen. Oliver put down his glass and sighed heavily. "Guess you can't expect children with a woman over 40, huh?" His words triggered a response in me. Guys my age all have kids now. Man, I'd like to do parenting too. I want my own child. Why can't we have one? Oliver mumbled to himself, yet loud enough for me to hear. Lucas used to be cute, but now at 23, he's gotten cocky with a good job. Lost his cuteness. Sometimes he looks at me like I'm trash. Really, I don't like it. When we first married, Oliver wanted his own child. I wanted to fulfill his wish. Back then, being under 40, we even went for fertility treatments and were careful in our daily lives. But even after 6 years of marriage, I remain without child. Occasionally, when Oliver gets drunk like this, he spews words that blame me. Unaware of the dark shadows these words cast on my heart. "Mom, can I talk to you for a sec?" "Huh? Isn't Dad here?" One day, Lucas called me into the living room after returning from work. Still in his suit, looking dignified with glasses. He resembled his late father. "He's gone out for drinks again. Probably will be back soon, I guess." It was past 11 p.m. If he wasn't back by this time, he'd likely return in the morning. Recently, Oliver has been inconsistently coming home or staying out. As usual, he doesn't work and seems to spend his nights out in the town. "Mom, are you okay? Remember, whatever happens, I'm on your side," Lucas said with a smile, unchanged from his younger days. Always a strong presence, protecting me. I, too, had firmly resolved to always protect Lucas. Just then, the sound of the front door opening came. Unsteady footsteps echoed down the hallway, and the living room door opened. "If it isn't Lucas. Instead of just working, why don't you have a drink too? You're such a boring guy." Oliver seemed in a slightly good mood today. Sometimes, Lucas and Oliver clash in the living room, where he accuses me of looking down on him. Oliver, who quit his job himself, seems to feel inferior to Lucas, who has landed a good job. "Dad, welcome back. Can we talk for a bit?" Lucas said, inviting Oliver to sit on the sofa. I sat next to them. Lucas sat across from us on a stool by the table. With a serious look on his face, he said, "Dad, Mom. I've been thinking of moving out. I'm considering getting married. I couldn't hide my surprise at Lucas's sudden announcement. It was a pleasant surprise, of course. Oliver seemed at a loss for words.
Really? Congratulations. What about the wedding? Are you planning one?
I asked eagerly. I'm thinking of having the ceremony once my work settles down. Lucas replied, slightly embarrassed. I had met Lucas's girlfriend Scarlett a few times. She was a lovely woman with an elegant demeanor but also independent. While I was thrilled, Oliver looked troubled. Seriously leaving home? What about me? You'll still give me money, right? I was dumbfounded by Oliver's words. Disgusted that he was worried about himself even now. And I was shocked to learn that he had been taking money from Lucas. Dad, when I get married, I'll move out. I'll have my own family, so I can't give you money like before. If you need money, why don't you work? You're only 35, Dad. There's plenty of work out there. Lucas spoke the words I couldn't. He probably knew it would enrage Oliver. As expected, Oliver erupted.
There goes Lucas, looking down on me again. I don't care about your marriage or whatever, but I won't allow you to leave home. Keep giving me money as you always have.
He began to rampage, but soon fell asleep, drunk. Lucas carried him to the bedroom, then came back to the living room. And? He's a handful, Dad. He said with a smile to me. I repeated.
Lucas, congratulations on your engagement.
I said. Despite Oliver's previous opposition to Lucas's marriage, he seemed to have changed his mind a bit. On the weekend, Lucas brought Scarlett home. I had met her a few times before, but she seemed more mature and even more dignified than last time. Please allow me to introduce myself, I'm Scarlett. Her posture and movements while drinking coffee were elegant and refined. Despite her modest makeup, her skin was beautiful, and her glossy hair made her an exceptionally charming woman. Oliver, who usually lounged around in pajamas, rushed to his room to change into party-like attire and even styled his hair upon seeing Scarlett. Though Scarlett appeared reserved, she was knowledgeable and conversational. Oliver seemed quite taken with her. Even after she left, he asked Lucas to bring her over again. This reassured me that Lucas's marriage was on the right track. Several times, Lucas brought Scarlett home. Each time, a cheerful Oliver welcomed her, sometimes even insisting she stay the night. I watched Oliver carefully. I had seen him, drunk, subtly touching Scarlett when Lucas wasn't looking. Despite his fondness, such excessive physical contact with Lucas's fiancée was inappropriate. Scarlett, though troubled, skillfully handled Oliver. When necessary, I would step between Oliver and Scarlett, only to be scolded.
What are you doing, Grace? Get lost.
But I didn't mind his harsh words as long as I could protect Scarlett. Eventually, on Scarlett's 23rd birthday, the two got married. As Lucas was busy with work, they hadn't settled on a new home yet. For the time being, they planned to live primarily at Scarlett's place, where she had been living alone. While I felt lonely about Lucas leaving, I wholeheartedly blessed their new life. I'll come to visit often. Also, I have a 2-week business trip soon. Can Scarlett come over to get some stuff during that time? Scarlett's place wasn't too far from ours. I agreed to Lucas's request, but had some concerns, so I made a suggestion to him, which he readily accepted. Thanks, Mom, he said, his casual words of gratitude warming my heart. I should be the one grateful. I'm committed to protecting my dear Lucas and his family. 3 months passed since Lucas married Scarlett. Initially, the couple visited often, but recently, their visits became rare.
Grace, aren't Lucas and Scarlett coming? If Lucas is busy, ask Scarlett to come alone,
Oliver would say. Sometimes, he'd even insist on visiting Lucas and Scarlett's place himself. I had to firmly stop that. Then,
well, I guess Scarlett will eventually live in this house too.
Oliver would make such strange statements. When I pointed out that it's unreasonable to intrude too much into a newlywed's life, even for a son, Oliver reluctantly agreed. Without Scarlett around, Oliver started going out to the night scene more often. He didn't work, always asked for money, and even tried to interfere with his married son's life. I began to question why I was still with Oliver. Initially, I liked him for his handsome appearance, chattiness, and kindness. He got along well with Lucas and promised to work hard for the family. However, over time, he turned into a man who quit his job but continued to play useless in every way. His ginger ale turned to whiskey. Unable to give Oliver the child he desired. And with Lucas now independent, I wondered if there was any reason left to stay with him. I sat alone in the living room, contemplating the future. Just then, the doorbell rang. It was almost 12 a.m. Thinking Oliver had returned, I unlocked the door without checking. It was Lucas.
Mom, sorry for coming at this hour. Is Dad here?
He looked frighteningly serious, unlike I had ever seen before. When I said Oliver hadn't returned yet, Lucas grimaced and clicked his tongue. A reaction I'd never seen from him before. What could have happened? I led Lucas to the living room and had him sit on the sofa, still with a grim expression. Sensing my confusion, Lucas started to speak.
Mom, it might be hard not to be shocked, but I need you to brace yourself.
The thing is, he said Scarlett was pregnant. Though he told me not to be surprised, I couldn't help but express my joy.
Congratulations on the pregnancy. That's wonderful. I was startled.
I was worried about what he might say, but a pregnancy is happy news. Yet, Lucas still looked stern. He then told me a terrible story. Scarlett's pregnancy was discovered only recently. Feeling unwell, Lucas accompanied her to the hospital where they learned of the pregnancy. Lucas was overjoyed, even moved at the time. But he was concerned about Scarlett's gloomy expression. Assuming she was just feeling unwell, he let her rest at home. But that night, a commotion awoke Lucas. In the kitchen, he found Scarlett crying loudly, clutching a knife. Lucas quickly took the knife and calmed the distraught Scarlett, eventually getting her to sit on the sofa. It was past 3 a.m. by the time she settled down. He stayed by her side all day, as he had the day off.
Scarlett taking such drastic action must have a significant reason, I thought. I repeatedly assured her that I was on her side, no matter what. Finally, she opened up to me. Lucas said. Then, he told me what she had said. I was shocked. My legs trembled, my jaw quivered, and I was speechless. I could feel Lucas's anger. It wasn't sadness or regret, but intense fury. His fists were clenched so tightly they were almost bleeding. In the silence, my mobile phone rang. Oliver's name appeared on the screen. Lucas pressed the answer button and switched it to speakerphone.
Grace, are you awake?
I won't be coming home tonight. I'm going out tomorrow too, so just leave some money before you go to work, okay?
I'm counting on you. Oliver's voice, sounding drunkenly cheerful, came through the phone. Hearing Oliver's voice seemed to erase the anger from Lucas's face, replaced by an expression devoid of emotion.
Dad? You're out drinking again tonight, huh?
Lucas's usually gentle tone was chilling.
Lucas? You're there? Is Scarlett with you? If she was coming, I should have stayed home. Haha.
Oliver said. Lucas's face twisted in response.
Dad, Scarlett is currently at her parents' house.
Actually, Scarlett is pregnant. Lucas quietly announces. I clasped my hands together, almost in prayer, listening intently to the conversation.
Is that so?
That's great.
A child, huh?
Oliver's reaction only made Lucas's fists tighten more. They trembled quietly yet intensely.
Not surprised, huh? It's almost like you knew Scarlett was going to get pregnant. You know something about it, don't you, Dad?
It felt cruel to let Lucas continue speaking, but I was too panicked to say anything to Oliver. Lucas' words made Oliver chuckle through his nose, sounding triumphant, and started speaking without any remorse.
It's all because Lucas decided to leave home and stop giving me money. And having such a cute wife as Scarlett, how successful is Lucas? Always looking down on me, right? But Scarlett was nice to me. Maybe she liked me more than Lucas. Married women seem to like me for some reason.
Lucas seemed on the verge of exploding with anger.
That's because you left Scarlett alone when you go on business trips, Lucas. She gets lonely. I had no choice but to keep her company. And guess what? I'm the dad of the baby she's pregnant with. Sorry, but it was Scarlett who came on to me. Let's raise this baby together.
I felt like I was going to faint at Oliver's horrible statement. Lucas exclaimed.
What? Don't mess with me.
He was about to smash his mobile phone, so I did everything to stop him. But what followed was sheer hell. Lucas stood up, kicking the sofa. Decorations on a nearby shelf scattered, and the coffee mug flew off somewhere. He ripped the curtains, and the rail fixtures flew off. A vase toppled over, scattering flowers and water everywhere. Lucas's eyes were completely gone. Unfocused. I wrapped his body with a nearby blanket. And hugged him tightly. Calming him like a crying child. Eventually, Lucas stopped his rampage, collapsing to his knees and started to cry profusely. Oliver's call had already disconnected. Lucas and I cried together for a while. I wonder how much time has passed. It felt like we had cried until there were no more tears left, as if we had used up all the water in our bodies. Lucas had an expressionless face, seemingly deep in thought. Then he looked at me and said,
"Mom, let's send Dad to hell,"
he said, proposing a terrifying plan of revenge. I nodded in agreement without saying a word, offering my full support. Oliver, who never works but always asks for money, enjoying his nights out. How fun is that for you? Does the alcohol taste better when it's bought with money someone else earned? And how does it feel to destroy love and care nurtured by others for your own selfish desires? The Oliver of the past was too good for me. Yes, back then. Thank you for being kind to Lucas when he was a child. I appreciate it. But Lucas has long surpassed your emotional maturity. When will you stop being a child? You want children? Who's going to raise them? Stop wanting children just for your desires. Children are lives. Not your toys. I'll protect my precious son Lucas and his family, Scarlett. What do you have to protect? Just your tiny pride? If you have time to protect that, would you please go to hell? I will never forgive you. Determined, Lucas and I are heading to Oliver's place. It's been a month since Oliver made that revelation, and I haven't returned home since. We've been living in a hotel. I just couldn't face Oliver. The thought of such a man being my husband disgusts me. No, disgust is too mild a word. I feel hatred toward Oliver. Despite his calls while I was away, his only concern was money. Not worried about my absence, not apologizing to Lucas. Grace, cut it out.
I can't go out for drinks because you're not giving me money.
He blames me every time. I once transferred him an amount that would last a normal person for a month. But Oliver spent it all in one night. Since I fulfilled my duty once, I've been ignoring his calls. Oliver is the type to barge into my workplace for money. To avoid any trouble, I resigned after explaining the situation. We can't risk him coming to Lucas's house, so we're staying at a hotel. Scarlett is taking a rest at her parents' house. This past month, Lucas and I have been fighting desperately to protect what's important. We can't just cry anymore. There's something we have to do to move forward. Armed with the information gathered over the month, Lucas and I have come to confront Oliver. He should be quietly waiting at home today. Probably expecting money. If it's for money, Oliver will flexibly adjust to our plans. Truly a money-grubbing demon. I press the doorbell. It's strange to ring the bell of my own house. But now, I don't even want to think of this house, where Oliver lives, as my own. Lucas probably feels the same. When we first married, I was grateful to Oliver for accepting Lucas and me. That's why I served him, even as he quit his job and played around, feeling indebted. But 6 years have passed, and the grace period is over. Moreover, Oliver committed a grave sin. We will never forgive him. Hearing the door unlock, Lucas and I entered the house. In the living room, Oliver, dressed up as usual, sat on the sofa.
I'm going out, so if you have something to say, make it quick. Oh, and leave the money,
he said, cheerfully putting on an expensive watch. Probably about to go on a date with a woman. Despite this, I felt no jealousy, questioning my state as a wife. I was relieved to see Lucas remain calmer than expected in front of Oliver. Before coming here, I had checked Lucas to ensure he wasn't carrying anything dangerous. He said I was overworried, but his rage at that time was indescribable. It wouldn't have been surprising if he did something terrible to Oliver today. In a calm voice, Lucas asked, "Dad, don't you have something to say to me?" After thinking for a moment, Oliver responded, "I'll take $1,500 per month. It's a bit less, but it should be enough. Grace will pay the rent, and Scarlett will do the housework. Lucas, you take care of my allowance." I was astounded by Oliver's statement, unsure if he was serious or joking. Lucas glared at Oliver with a cold expression.
It's appalling. You hurt Scarlett like that and don't have a single word of apology. Not that I would forgive you if you did, but I wish to see some semblance of sincerity.
Lucas's quiet words were met with a dismissive response from Oliver.
Why should I apologize? It's because Lucas was away on business trips. Scarlett complained to me when she came to pick up Lucas's things. She said Lucas is always busy with work and it's boring. Plus, she was lonely for the 2 weeks you were away. I've said it before, Scarlett came on to me. If you're going to get angry, scold Scarlett instead. Oliver said this while spraying fragrance on himself. Lucas stood up. But I hurriedly made him sit back down and calmed him. Once a bit calmer, Lucas said to Oliver, "Don't insult Scarlett. It's obvious that Scarlett is innocent. We know that Dad deceived her." Lucas glared at Oliver, who nonchalantly retorted, "Deceived? Don't speak ill of me. If you're going that far, show me proof. Evidence. You have none, right?" Oliver had a smug look, seemingly confident. Indeed, the security camera at the entrance had been unplugged, and there was no recorded data from when Lucas was away. So, there were no records of Scarlett or Oliver's comings and goings. The same was true for the apartment's security office. The camera power had been turned off. The manager mentioned a possible temporary power outage, but would security cameras be off for such a long period? We were sure Oliver had intentionally disabled the cameras. We can't let Oliver get the better of us just because he disabled the security cameras. If you're going that far, I'll show you evidence, Lucas said, looking straight at Oliver and starting an app on his mobile phone. It was an app to play audio, transferring recordings from a digital voice recorder to the phone. Lucas played the audio with determination. The recording started with Scarlett coming to Oliver's house to pick up something. It ended with her leaving the house. The problem was what followed. There was the sound of the door closing, likely when Scarlett returned. Then, a loud noise, followed by Scarlett's scream and the sound of someone opening the door. What's happening? How did you know where I am? Did you follow me?
Scarlett's frightened voice was heard. Don't talk like I followed you. I just came to tell you something I forgot. Do you know Lucas has a huge debt? I've been dealing with it, but he won't pay me back. Can you talk to him about it? At Oliver's words, I involuntarily look at Lucas, who shakes his head in disbelief.
Debt? I don't know anything about that.
Scarlett's voice trembled. Oliver, with a distorted face, listened to the recording. I'm in trouble if I don't get paid back soon. If Lucas can't pay with money, I'll have to take it from Scarlett. Lucas stopped the playback there. I had confirmed it myself, but what followed was unbearable to hear. Oliver was threatening Scarlett to pay back with money or else to repay with her body. Of course, there was no truth to Lucas having any debt.
Since I will be away on a business trip, I gave Scarlett a digital voice recorder to carry. I told her to start recording as soon as she woke up and keep it in her pocket. It was the right decision. As expected, Dad did something terrible to Scarlett.
I had previously advised Lucas about this. I was concerned about how Oliver interacted with Scarlett. So Lucas probably gave her the digital voice recorder as a precaution.
Just an audio recording can't be evidence. Nowadays, you can edit that stuff. Without video, it means nothing.
Oliver argued, clearly disturbed but still managing to counter. Lucas sighed softly and continued.
Bad news for you, there is a video. Scarlett sent me daily videos while I was away on business. They were long, so she recorded them on her laptop. That day, she was working on her laptop before going to pick up her stuff, and Dad, you showed up. Everything was captured on the laptop's built-in camera.
Lucas said this while crying. It must have been hard to see such footage of Scarlett. Still, he fought to prove her innocence and clear her name. It's no joke.
Erase that video and audio right now.
What are you trying to do by threatening me? What's your goal?
It's your fault for not giving me money. It should be a happy thing that the family is growing.
Oliver said selfishly. Lucas slammed the table.
Threatening? You were the one who deceived and threatened Scarlett while I was away. Following her and doing such despicable things, it's the worst.
Even Oliver recoils from Lucas's intensity.
I'm demanding settlement money from you.
At the mention of settlement money, Oliver reacted strongly.
What are you talking about? I can't pay any settlement money.
He laughed it off. I felt no emotion. Not even anger, just a sense of disbelief. Lucas calmly told him.
If you can't pay, then you'll go to jail.
Oliver's actions were criminal. Neither Lucas nor I had any intention of forgiving him. He could suffer through either paying settlement money or serving time in jail.
Lucas, you're going to send your parent to jail? Even if we're not blood related, I'm your dad. Your mom will be sad. Are you okay with that?
Oliver used the word parent, which disgusted me. I decided to confront Oliver with the reality.
Oliver, thank you for your concern. But you're no longer Lucas's dad. We're getting a divorce. I don't expect you to agree easily, so we'll go through a lawyer. Oh, and I'll also be demanding compensation in the divorce lawsuit. Look forward to it.
At my words, Oliver looked like he wanted to say something but couldn't.
You've had relationships with many women. I've done my research. If you want evidence, just ask. I have plenty of evidence photos of your affairs, including with married women. I guess it's true what you say about being popular with married people. Expect compensation claims from their husbands too.
I regretted not divorcing Oliver sooner, sparing Scarlett and Lucas the pain. This thought weighed heavily on me. That's why I was determined to punish Oliver. The lawsuit with Oliver would undoubtedly be painful for me too. But it was also a lesson for myself.
By the way, this is an aside, but Scarlett's parents come from a somewhat traditional family. They've been protecting that land for generations. My father-in-law? He's involved with the mafia. He's planning to pay you a visit over this incident.
At Lucas's words, Oliver turned pale. I was looking forward to that visit.
Hey, Grace! Are you really going to abandon me? If Scarlett has a child, it's my child. Why not raise it together instead of getting a divorce? Since you couldn't have children, let's raise Scarlett's child together, right?
Oliver remained true to himself, completely unaware of how selfish he sounded. I had planned not to tell Oliver the truth out of pity, but he needed to know it. After exchanging a glance with me, Lucas calmly told Oliver.
Sorry, but
But the child in Scarlett's womb isn't yours. It's mine. We checked and calculated the weeks at the hospital. Considering everything, it's definitely my child. Lucas's quiet yet firm words left Oliver with no room for rebuttal. I added, "We never told you, Oliver, but remember we went through fertility treatments together? We had various tests done. The cause of the infertility was male infertility on Oliver's part. There wasn't a single viable cell. That's the reality." At my words, Oliver's face showed the deepest despair he had felt all day. With no money, losing his family, and now his male dignity, Oliver's small pride was vanishing. Tears spilled from his eyes as he crumbled to his knees. I felt no sympathy. What would become of Oliver now? But as we were no longer a couple, it was no longer my concern. It's his own responsibility. He should have just stuck to ginger ale instead of learning the taste of alcohol. I now live near Lucas and Scarlett's new home, visiting as needed without imposing too often. My main role is to help Scarlett during her pregnancy, but she remains active, handling household chores and exercising. However, when she feels unwell, I step in to prepare meals and clean. My relationship with Scarlett is good. Sometimes Lucas even gets jealous of our closeness. I don't know where he got it, but Dad deposited the entire settlement amount. After Scarlett fell asleep, Lucas told me in the living room. Probably, Oliver asked his parents for help. He was raised in a wealthy family, and, rebelling against strict upbringing, played too much, leading to a strained relationship with his in-laws. Originally, we wanted Oliver to serve time and atone for his crimes, but Scarlett refused that.
Oliver should suffer,
she said, a statement fitting for a mafia daughter. Exposed to the cold judgment of society and living uncomfortably will be his punishment. He should earn money himself, pay where he needs to, and atone.
Let him not escape to prison,
she said with a beautiful face, surprising both Lucas and me. Lucas's work is going well, and he is eagerly awaiting the birth of his child while working hard.
He keeps buying children's clothes and toys almost every day, making the house feel cramped,
Scarlett had complained. I have successfully divorced Oliver through legal proceedings. Planning to report various things, I intend to visit Lucas's father's grave this weekend. Scarlett gave birth under a gentle son, blessing us with a healthy girl who seems to resemble Lucas. Another being has entered my life to protect. Her tiny palm gently held my outstretched finger.